If this 17-day streaming window takes effect, will the money being used to pay for the movie's box office? If not, then how will they judge the movie's success, and if so, how will that change how Hollywood sees the box office mathematically? Great question. So for those who don't understand what this question is referring to, it was actually an article that came out, I think it was Variety or The Hollywood Reporter, all the way back in May or March, and it's recently come again into light because they're so much closer to signing a deal. Now, I will comment below the link to the article, but basically what it is the studios, in a way to kind of increase their profits, are going to be offering us, the consumers, a streaming service, which basically means that instead of having to wait 3 or 4 months for the theatrical window to close, we can actually watch movies that are recent to the cinemas in the comfort of our own home. So that means that, like Blade Runner 2049 came out 2 weeks ago, we'd actually be able to watch that at home for a premium price, somewhere between $30 and $50. Now, thank you so much for the question, and this is my way of being able to some way answer it. Now, as for how they'll count the box office, well, as most people are aware of, Netflix never releases their numbers, and I suspect for a reason. When they decide to renew things, who knows what their business model is and what factors they take into account. So basically, you have to take Netflix's word for what's successful on that platform, but to be honest, you can kind of gauge that based on trending and the social chatter. But perhaps what they could start out with is a ranking chart like they do on iTunes. No specific stats, but like, you can see the most rented movie on that dollar figure price range, and then eventually when the shift is made and someone's going to break the mold and start reporting actual figures, when they start getting really big numbers, like let's say hypothetically you put Blade Runner 2049 on streaming and it makes something like $40 million. That they'll obviously want to report so people don't realise how bad of a flop it was. Obviously I'm just using that as an example, but that's the only way I can really start seeing people reporting the dollar figures they made, because obviously it's just like the box office. Reporting success breeds more success, and more people are more likely to go see a movie that they think is a must-see as opposed to not seeing it at all. And of course, it's almost like a domino effect. If people don't start releasing their numbers, people will start questioning as to why and automatically write it off. And that's personally how I see the landscape changing. Now, what would that mean for the box office? Quite frankly, I think you'd be looking at a situation where reporting of box office becomes a little bit more complicated. So can I get a hashtag yay for that? And perhaps maybe it won't be an altogether box office reporting so much as a total earnings report. And it would be really interesting. Personally, I feel like audiences are becoming a little bit more sophisticated and are actually more interested now in box office reporting more than ever, especially that Hollywood is using it as a way to sell movies. It's a very interesting question, and I definitely feel like it would be a situation where the rankings would be important, like how many views a trailer gets within a 24-hour period can tell you whether a movie is popular, and I think that they'd kind of do the same when it comes to renting on the digital platform. Now, it's very interesting, and it kind of gives a little bit more perspective as to why we talk about box office at all, and why Hollywood is more than happy to let you, the consumer, be in on that discussion, which for a very long time, it was more business to business as opposed to business to consumer. Now, for those who don't know the terminology, there's different types of reporting. There's B2B, which is business to business, which is a business publication that's only meant to go for business people in the business. And then there's B2C, which is business reporting meant for the consumer, which has been the smallest market for a long time. And then there's C2C, which is consumer to consumer, which is something like Entertainment Weekly, which they then use is specifically structured for the consumer, and I think as consumers get savvier, they like the B2C option, which is a little bit more popular now because of how much money there is in that option. You see a lot of publications like Hollywood Reporter and Variety taking more of that B2C option, especially now that there's so many publications flooding the market in the digital space. Thank you so much for your question, and if you would like any questions answered, please comment below, and as always, if you like this video and want to see more, please click here to see more. Thanks for watching, bye.